Mic'd up.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, act like you know it's going down. I'm your captain. It's going down.
Hello. Welcome to Yankees Coast to Coast with your host, Adam, and your hostess, Michael Miller.
With the mostest.
Happy holidays. Happy Hanukkah.
Yes.
Happy Christmas to all of our Jewish friends. How are you doing?
Very good, Mr. Chinooka man. How are you doing? Where did you go for dinner this evening that I caught you on your way home from dinner?
We were going to get a little sushi with some friends.
You have friends? Well,
we
Joanne.
Actually do have friends. We have friends, believe it or not.
Joanne has friends.
One or two people actually call us buddies. Oh, I'm getting everybody's chiming in. Every text that I have for the last month is now coming through. Boom, boom, boom. All right. Good.
They're not
good.
Show, are they?
Hmm?
No show texts.
That's correct. We were supposed to we were going to stay out a little bit later, but friend wasn't feeling very well, so we just grabbed the food to go, and I was going to actually have the show from the road today, which was going to be really interesting.
I would have hung up on you, your butt out of the show.
You would have said enough, no more. So
I would have said, let's get Kramer back here because he was so high energy.
Speaking of no more,
I was so high energy last week. That's unusual.
Yeah, Kramer. I don't know what was going on. We apologize to all of our watchers out there. Kramer was falling asleep on us. People called up and thought they were wondering if he was alive.
We did. We got a bunch of people. We had a bunch of people who that chimed in after the show and on the clips that were on YouTube, and they were asking if Kramer was dead. I couldn't believe it. People were actually very concerned, which is good for Kramer because now people care about him. Which is nice.
He worries about all these things so much.
We all worried about Kramer. So
I was like, Kramer, are you okay? First of all, I've never seen more of his. I was counting his nose hairs, and
I was counting his chins. Like Mike Myers likes to say in Austin Powers, he had more chins than a Chinese phone book.
God.
Oh, but you guys don't think I'm racist? I'm quoting a movie.
I don't think you're
Austin Powers, people. Austin Powers. So anyhow, today we have a couple of topics. Basically, have the Yankees improved so far this offseason with what they've done? We knew there wasn't going to be much between last week's show and this one with Christmas coming. And then what's left for the Yankees to address, and are they going to address it? And what's out there? So, looking at the four things that there are to look at basically are, is the lineup better? Is the rotation better? Is the bullpen better? And is the defense better? We can go through those one by one, and then we'll hit the button and switch over to what's left and what are they going to do. So let's start with the lineup. So I went back and I looked at the 24 lineup. Okay, clearly we know Soto, Torres, Verdugo, and Rizzo are gone, but the starting lineup on opening day of 24 was Torres at second, Soto in right, Judge in center, Stanton at DH, Rizzo at first, Volpe at short, Verdugo in left, Trevino catching, and Cabrera at third base. So I just, tried to put the lineup together in a similar fashion. And this year's lineup, obviously without Soto, it's not, it's never going to be whatever. So it has Jazz. I put Jazz at second just for argument's sake. Judge in right, Bellinger in left, Stanton at DH, Wells at catcher, Goldschmidt at first, Dominguez in center, Volpe at short, and Cabrera and Peraza at third. Now, if you look at the lineup, right, Jazz for Torres, are they better off? Well, if it's Torres for the last half of the season, it's not that good because Jazz really cooled off. But I would take, as a player, I would take Jazz better over Torres, wouldn't you?
It's not even close.
Okay, I think it's closer than I'd like to admit, but
I think also you get a guy who comes in, does well, then he begins to sort of settle in. And we understood that Jazz is known to be a streaky guy, and that's just what we have to deal with.
Yeah, I wish he would keep his clothes on and stop streaking.
And smoking, streaking and smoking, great combination.
Well, smoking
at
just
least
makes
he hasn't grown if he does, as long as he doesn't grow a beard and dreadlocks down.
Can he grow a beard? I don't know.
I don't know. But the thing about it is that I like him a lot. There's just I like his athleticism. I just don't think that I think that Torres is losing his athleticism. He's getting overweight. He's oversized for an infield. He's probably built more for an outfielder or a corner infield position. He's not at a fast twitch position at second base anymore. So he just looks terrible. I don't think the Yankees were going to miss any of it. Maybe a couple of the home runs every now and again, but even that's not that impressive. So
And now that we said that, I'm sure they're going to sign him for a 1-year deal. But I don't see. I
Gonna-
personally think Torres's body is going in the wrong way. He's becoming less athletic, and at the same time hitting less home runs. Which he's becoming bulkier and hitting less home runs, which is very funny. I was never a Torres fan. I don't think he has the arm to play third base. I don't think he has the athleticism to play the outfield, and
I don't think he has the arm to play second base. I mean, I think which is amazing. I've never seen a second baseman who gets off who turns the double as badly as he does. Never. I've never. Camp guys turn the double better than he does, and he's just I can't begin to say how much I'll object to a Gleyber Torres reunion in any capacity. I don't care. 1 year.
a lot of
I don't care if
guys.
they give him. I don't care if they give him an invite to number 99. Where's number 98 at spring training, where he sits in the crappy umpire's dugout, umpire's whatever it's called, the umpire's weight dressing room. That's the word I'm looking for at Steinbrenner. I don't care. I don't want him back in any capacity. He is a loser, and they don't need losers. That's the bottom line.
Let's put it this way: he doesn't have the range. He doesn't have the arm. He doesn't have the baseball IQ. He was one of the worst fielding second basemen in baseball. He was one of the worst base runners in all of baseball. During the second half of the year, did he do well? Yes. But even with all of the positives of his offense, he still was only a 2.8 WAR player. And,
everything about him.
and never mind the fact that he's going to get 14, 16, 18 million dollars.
I mean, I'm looking at his fielding numbers. His arm strength is 7th percentile.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, it's just a shockingly bad.
Right.
His range, 15th percentile. His sprint speed is down to 29th percentile. I mean, he's so low. I've never seen so much blue on the chart on Savant. He has a couple of strengths. He doesn't chase a lot. He does stay within the zone, which I don't remember. I remember seeing him do that, so I don't know. I would check
the second half of 24, he did an excellent job of staying in the zone.
Yeah, but then he's known for his sweet spot. He has an 84% spread, so 84th percentile sweet spot. So that's it. There's nothing else on his chart that shows he does anything well. He doesn't barrel up. He doesn't hit the ball hard. His exit velocity is below average. Just very, very bad. Oh, Big Juicy.
Gotta like Big Juicy coming back to life for us. Yeah, I mean,
terrible player.
The thing for me with Torres is he started out the season as their leadoff hitter, and he lost the job, and there was a reason he lost the job. He also got bent. He's the only one that got punished for not hustling, which bothered the hell out of me. And Verdugo, should have gotten benched for some of his crapola that he did as well.
Mhm.
But so all right, so we think they're better at second base if it's Jazz over Torres. They're definitely better defensively, and they're better athletically. They're better baseball IQ wise. And if Jazz is the second baseman, that was his original position. That's fine. So I'm not going to say Judge versus Soto in right field because that makes no sense. We're going to go Bellinger versus Soto. Clearly, Soto's better. I mean, there's not an if, and, or but defensively, Bellinger's going to be better outfielder than Soto in left field or in center field. I have him in left field. Bellinger's a much better outfielder, and he's going to steal more bases, but he's not Soto, so that's not even worth arguing, right? Soto's better.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you got Judge versus Judge.
No, his fielding as far as range, he's in the 14th percentile. Now he
Who,
does have a
Bellinger?
good arm.
Who, Bellinger or Soto?
No, Soto. So okay. Soto's one strength and one weakness he's got terrible range and he's got a good arm. That's all he's known for. But his range is 14%. I mean, terrible stuff. Arm
Which is-
strength.
Yeah, but nobody's going to hit like Bell. I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to replace him with who? Otani or Judge. That's it. Offensively, those are the only two guys that could replace him. So,
are you able to get the Baseball Savant right now on your Apple or your Mac Plus that you use, whatever computer it is? You have like your Commodore 360 that you use?
That's what I have. As a Commodore 16, not even a 360.
Not even 180. A Commodore 180. That's how bad yours is. Just go up and take a look at Soto. Soto's chart on Savant. You're not going to believe it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't need to look at it. It's, it is what it is.
There it is. Are you looking at my screen?
I'm looking at it right now. I have it on my screen too. And his base running value is horrible too, which I'm surprised because he wasn't a bad base runner.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to pick on. I mean, come on. I'm not going to pick on the guy. I'm glad. I mean, put it this way: the Yankees went above and beyond what anybody thought they would offer him, and in essence, I'm kind of glad they didn't sign him because the price was just too high.
Yeah, you know what? It's amazing how painful it was, but when in the prism of a little time, thank goodness that we can look back now. And did you think they would do what they've done? I mean, Did you think that they'd execute Plan B as well as they had?
Right.
No, I didn't.
That's what I argue. Their Plan B was working out fine. So then you have Dominguez versus Verdugo. I mean, upside, obviously, Dominguez has got Verdugo beat. The question is whether Dominguez can actually do it. I do think he needs to play center field. He's a better center fielder than left fielder. And as our friend Roy White has said, and he is a friend of ours, left field in Yankee Stadium is one of the most difficult fields to play. And if I remember, Rickey Henderson said that the only place that he played that was tougher to play than left field at Yankee Stadium was right field in Oakland, which was on our show. And Rickey was a stud fielder. And God rest his soul.
And listen, why don't we say that again? We didn't talk about it. Tough loss.
So, I mean, the key to me is he's the best leadoff hitter in the history of baseball. The only one that's close, and he's not that close, is Pete Rose, because Rickey did much more than Pete Rose. And Rickey, in his 23rd year in the league, had led the league in stolen bases.
Yeah.
He has over 1,400 stolen bases. Somebody was on one of the podcasts I was watching this morning. Somebody was talking about how Otani was going to break Rickey's stolen base record. I'm like, Otani has stolen 50 bases once. If Otani plays another 28 years and steals 50 bases each of those years, he will catch Rickey Henderson. I mean,
kind of idiotic to think.
It's ridiculous. I mean, Rickey had 297 home runs and 1,400 stolen bases, more walks than strikeouts. And he stole all those bases. He stole all those bases without a pitch clock that he could use to time, without the limit on the number of throws over to first base. He was the best leadoff hitter there was. And what more do you want? When Don Mattingly says Rickey Henderson is the best player he ever played with.
Yeah.
I mean, that's as telling as it can be.
I mean, Rickey in his first year, the year that Mattingly had his great season, he had 146 runs scored. 146 runs on, and then
35 home runs. And so that means that he had 109 times where he didn't knock himself in. I would say that Mattingly knocked him in 90 times.
That's right.
Mattingly had 146.
I think he had 145.
Mattingly had 146 RBIs.
Yeah, either that 145. I mean, amazing year, but that was all Rickey. I mean, Rickey must have been. I just remember that great team. That's why the Yankees have not had a leadoff hitter even in this. It's an embarrassment. You can't even say as good as Rickey. The Yankees haven't had a leadoff hitter since Rickey. This guy,
I disagree. I think Jeter wasn't a bad leadoff hitter, and Gardner in the beginning wasn't a bad leadoff hitter. I just nobody was Rickey, but. Those guys weren't bad leadoff hitters, but no. Rickey was his own animal. I mean, in our lifetime, there's been, two of the best leadoff hitters in the history of baseball in Rickey and Tim Raines.
Yeah. And I'm glad that Raines is getting a little love right now. I know he got into the Hall, but people really need to know how good Raines was. Raines was a great,
Stealing
great
70
baseball.
bases a year, and nobody would say spit about it.
Yeah.
Because that, and then the other thing is this about Rickey is he never really had a major injury. And what do they say now? They don't want guys sliding headfirst into the bases when they steal. The guy was stealing 130 bases one season, and
Who never slid once.
100, and he always slid headfirst.
Yeah, really amazing.
There was a story that Tim Kirchin told when Rickey was on the A's and Frank Robinson was managing the Orioles. And Kirchin told the story that Frank Robinson told his pitchers, if Rickey gets on first base, do not throw over. And he told his catchers, don't even throw at second base. Just let him have the base. We're not getting him. The only thing that could happen is we'll throw it away and he'll end up on third base. And that was Frank Robinson's strategy if Rickey got on base. And that's what's really
new.
Oh, I mean, he was
Robinson knew.
He was just, and talk about
a joy to watch.
Player.
Just a joy. The most enjoyable guy to watch lead off a game, mostly because he just knew what it was going to mean to the pitch. If he got on base, if he led off with a single, I'm not even talking about the home runs that he did amazingly, but I mean the lead off home run.
A guy had a 400 on base percentage.
He would get on base, and you just would see the picture would just come to pieces. I mean, it was.
The only person who's walked more than him is Barry Bonds, and Rickey never got intentionally walked. I mean, it's
that's
just
right. And what were the Yankees? And what were the Yankees thinking when they traded him? I mean, they traded him. I remember it was at '89, and then he went on and won. First of all, he was amazing in the playoffs and World Series for the A's. But what I couldn't believe was how good a year he had in '90. I think he won the MVP that year. And was it 90? Was it?
I'll look it up.
Yeah, 90 with Oakland. He won the. Here's the season he had. 28 home runs, only 61 RBIs, but 119 runs. What was the year that he won the MVP?
He won a couple of MVPs, didn't he? Right. Oh, no, he only won one MVP. He won the MVP in 1985.
Oh, so he won the MVP. He didn't win the MVP.
No, he finished third in 85. I'm sorry. He won the MVP in 90. That's the year he won
90, that's right. So that year, so he gets traded from the Yankees, has an amazing playoff. In 90 in the 89 ride to the series, pissed off that they wouldn't go back and play after the earthquake, which I love, and his mother yelled at him and told him to shut up. And but then in 89 he goes on to win the MVP. And what did the Yankees get for him? Eric Plunk and Luis Polonia,
Greg Cadaret,
and Greg. Who was making those deals now? It was 90. It was 89, so they hadn't lost. There had to be a Steinbrenner deal, right? Because Steinbrenner was still active. He hadn't been suspended. So it could have been. That could not have been a Stick Michael move. So what happened? I'd love to read up. What were the Yankees thinking that they hated this guy so much that they gave up on him like that? All I remember is he was always shaking it. They said he was always hurt and he never wanted to play hurt. And did you hear Willie Randolph the other night on?
Yeah, but he was always hurt, and never wanted to. Rickey never wanted to play hurt. You're talking about Rickey never wanted to play hurt. His games played for the Yankees in the years he was on the Yankees. He was 88,
43
years. He played 136 and 135 games. His full 2 seasons on the Yankees.
No, what are you talking about? In 85. He played. Am I looking at the right guy? Yeah, it's Rickey. In 85, he played 130.
He played 185. Played 141 games. Played 141 games. I'm looking at the wrong chart. I'm sorry.
Sorry,
Uncle.
So he played 143, 153, 95, and 87 because that was a weird year. 140 and 88, and then 65. He got traded midseason. So he was traded in April. So
it was just,
of course,
it was dumb to deal.
247 when they traded him. 305, 291, 263, and 314 as a Yankee. I mean, the guy was amazing, but something happened, and I'd love to know. Okay, we got K-Dog.
2,190 walks and only 1,694 strikeouts.
Did you have the lead K-Dog?
Lifetime on base percentage of 419. Where do you have K-Dog? He's not on here.
He clicked in, but he's gone now. He obviously didn't like what he said. He canceled himself. He
Oh,
sent in a message after victory.
maybe he
He's
had
probably
a
mad at
stroke.
us.
Nah,
He's
fuck
made
him.
at us.
Oh,
He's mad
sorry.
because he wants to prove he's alive.
Yeah. Well, Kramer. Just for those of you who are wondering, Kramer is alive.
Kramer
It
is
used to be a
proof of
website.
life, please. Proof of life.
Yeah. So there used to be a website. It was really funny. Remember when the movie Deadpool came out with Clint Eastwood, and they had a Deadpool who was going to die when, and there used to be a website, Abe Vigoda, dead or alive, forever. We could start a website,
You
a
know,
pool. We could
Abe
start one.
Vigoda lived in
Daniel Q.
Riverdale.
Kramer, alive or dead, and then you go to the website, and if he's still alive, he can say
Oops.
Kramer is still alive. So,
Look at Kramer's message. Look at Kramer.
oops, I guess he had another accident. Go change your underwear, Dan. Anyhow, let's get back to the show. I don't want to spend time on Kramer's dirty underwear. So getting back to it, so Judge versus Judge is nothing. Oh, he deleted himself again. So Stanton versus Stanton is nothing, right? So that's the same. All right, so first base, Rizzo versus Goldschmidt.
It's not even close.
Goldschmidt's gonna be better, right? Volpe versus Volpe, that stays the same. Verdugo versus Dominguez. I think Dominguez has got the bigger upside. So Trevino versus Wells. Trevino is the winner. I mean, Wells is the winner there. And then third base, right now, the Yankees have Cabrera Peraza against Cabrera Peraza. That's a wash. So, they lost huge in the drop from Soto to Bellinger, but they're ahead on the Torres for Jazz. They're ahead on the Goldschmidt for Rizzo. They're ahead on the Dominguez for Verdugo. And they're ahead on the Wells for Trevino, which they were going to have anyhow because, that wasn't even an update on the team. So the lineup is depth. Let's just say it has better
Have they
depth.
replaced the WAR, though? Have they replaced the
No, they haven't replaced the WAR, but it's one guy. I mean, they didn't replace the WAR offensively at all. There's no way they did. But they never would have. I mean, the guy was out of control. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Well, they're going to get 40 home runs. You got to think they're going to get at least 35 home runs from the combo of Bellinger and Goldschmidt, and they're going to get more home runs out of Jazz this year. And they're going to lose the home runs from Glaber, but I don't think
Jazz is gonna out home run Glaber. I think Jazz. I mean, the ideal situation. It's a shame. I don't think he's a leadoff hitter, but the ideal situation is Jazz goes 20 homers, 40 steals, which he pretty much did last year. I mean, if he can go 20-50, it would be ideal. That would be great.
Yeah.
But I mean, the lineup and
So
Bellinger's Kramer's now texting saying it won't let him leave a message. But
I'm going to say you were blacklisted.
So anyhow, we'll get to Kramer because he has a bullpen comment, and we're not at the bullpen yet. So next thing up is, so offensively they have more depth, but they don't have Soto. So it'll be a different kind of season for them, right?
Yeah, I am fully of the belief that they are a significantly better team today than they were the team that ended all around.
Well, let's go through. You go to the rotation, right? So last year's rotation at the start of the season was supposed to be Cole, Rodon, Cortez, Stroman, and Schmidt. Obviously, Cole was hurt for a long time, and that brought us Luis Heel. And you really can't say Luis Heel was not a stud for the Yankees that first half of the year. But this year's starting rotation is Cole, Fried, Rodon, Heel, and Schmidt. I think they're better. Obviously, Fried is better than Cortez, and Heel is better than Stroman. So they're significantly better, I think, in the rotation. I don't think that there's any question, right? They brought in Fried, who's going to be much better than Cortez or Stroman. So, I mean, they made the jump on the rotation in their plan B. That was much better. So is there any question that they're better rotation-wise? And
no,
let's assume Cole's not hurt.
Number one.
Right, and Cole's not hurt. So Cole over anybody is going to be better, assuming he's not hurt. So that's the reason that their rotation's much better. Granted, evaluating rotations now is very odd because there's not that many starters that will average 7 innings, that'll throw 200 innings. And that's
which is why a bullpen is so much more important than ever before. Right now, they're in a position when we get to that.
We think the lineup's got more depth, but it's missing Soto, and we think the rotation's just outright better. I think that's where we're at right now.
And you haven't really also talked about the defense of the team. Defense of the team is better.
Well, we'll get to the defense after the bullpen. Defense after the bullpen. So the bullpen, right? Last year they went into the season with the closer was Holmes, who at the time was a good closer, right? All-star closer. Well, now they jumped to Devin Williams, one of the top 3 closers in baseball, right? So even though Holmes was good, looking at Holmes before 24, not looking at Holmes' 24 season, Holmes was a good closer, not a stud, but a good closer and all-star level relief pitcher. But Williams is top 5, top 3 closer in all of baseball. So they're better there, right?
I think there's also a little revisionist living for Holmes. Well, I remember Holmes in 23. I remember Holmes in 22. I remember Holmes falling apart at certain moments of the season.
Right.
Would lose for not just like Mariano would lose 1 or 2. He would lose
10 zone.
10. He'd lose a month.
Right. No, absolutely.
That's a disaster.
But that's what closers, other than the top 3 or 5 closers in all of baseball, that's what they are. All closers in baseball, except for Hader, Williams, Diaz, because the Reds' Diaz is also a stud closer. Other than those 4 guys, right? Guys come and go as being stud closers. Holmes was a top 10 closer in baseball, even with his month of tightrope walking where the guys would fall off and didn't have a net. Holmes was good going into 24, but Williams is significantly better, right?
Yeah.
So then you have the rest of the bullpen, right? So last year they started the season. Their bullpen was Hamilton, Canley, Loizaga was hurt, Colin Ferguson, who we did have high hopes for, Nick Ramirez, who we didn't have high hopes for, Victor Gonzalez, who we had some hopes for, Weaver, Nick Birdie, and Clayton Beeter, who was also hurt, right? So Loizaga and Beeter were hurt, so let's take them out of there. This year you go to the bullpen, you've got Weaver, who's a much proven better player, right? Leiter Jr., okay, he's a better player than Colin Ferguson and Nick Ramirez and Victor Gonzalez and those guys. Beeter, who may or may not make the team because he's still got 2 options left. Cruz, who they just picked up from the Reds, who, if Blake can fix him,
seems to be a great pickup.
Right. He could be unbelievable, and if he can't get fixed, guess what? He has 3 options. You could send him down.
Yeah,
Efros,
exactly. If
he's not hurt, he was showing at the end of 23 before he got hurt that he could be a high leverage reliever. And guess what?
Yeah.
If he can't do it, he's got 2 options. He can go down. Here comes your problems. JT Brubaker at his $2 million salary or whatever it is. He has no options. He's got to be on the team.
Mm-hmm.
Hamilton, who's Hamilton, so that's a wash. Gomez, who started and pitched okay for the Yankees a couple of times. He has no options, so he's going to be in the bullpen.
How does he have no options? How do you not?
He's been around
a lot. The option rule.
It's whatever it is. He has no options, but he's not a bad pitcher, so I don't care. Whatever. Loizaga, who is hurt, so he's a wash, and then De Los Santos, who is got 2 options left, so he can go down. The bullpen has got significantly better depth than it normally has for the Yankees going into the season because you got a guy like Weaver, who is a stud, Hamilton, who's Hamilton, and, you lost Canley, but you didn't really have anything last year except for Canley and Hamilton. You didn't expect anything out of Weaver going into 24, right?
Not at all.
No,
Not
Weaver,
I remember you saying, if we have to rely on Weaver, we've got a lot of problems.
Right. And guess what?
And he showed a lot.
And Cousins is the new Weaver.
Yeah.
25 Cousins is the 24 Weaver. If Cousins can be okay, then that's fine. And Leiter's got to be better than he was, but he was good in the playoffs. So the bullpen's got a little bit more depth. Now, this is where we can get to our friend Kramer, who doesn't know how to use his computer anymore. Kramer says, even though it says it's not letting him record, he was able to record the oops message. If the topic is what the Yankees need to do before the season starts, it is two left-handed relievers and a left-handed infield bat that can play every day. Well, we'll talk about the left-handed bat every day because I don't agree with him. And second of all, I don't disagree that they could use a left-handed reliever, and I think they should sign Hill because he'll be cheap.
And they will. Hill's
I
coming
think
back. That's a unless somebody blows him away with a multi-year
it's
deal.
going to cost them It's going to be $5 million to get Hill. And if the Yankees are at if they're at the 286, 288 million, they could do 5 million and not blow through the 300. The problem is getting an additional piece besides Hill, and that's where the challenge comes in. So the bullpen is better. I think signing Hill makes it even better, but the bullpen's better than it was going into 24.
Because they have a legitimate pitcher, closer, and they now have everybody. They've got guys back. Either they're back, they're healthy, or they're acquired who have swing and miss, and that's what was missing last time. They had a lot of guys.
Right. And they have more of those guys so that if they miss and the guys don't perform, they've got a guy to slide in. Whereas last year, they didn't really have the guys to slide in.
What always worried me about the Yankees bullpen last year was anytime they were close in a game late, and they didn't, let's say they were down by a run in the 8th inning, down by a run in the 7th inning. And then they were lucky enough to come back. Soto would come up and hit a big one, a bomb, or Judge would hit a bomb, and they tie the game. Go ahead, whatever. I always felt that if they went into extra innings for any reason, they were in trouble. They didn't seem to have guys who were going to be able to handle a lengthy game, even if they're, it just seemed that they were not going to be able to handle that. I like now that they seem to have enough depth that they're going to get by, the closer. Like if they finish with Devin, he's out. Then who's afterwards? Then they may have some guys who can come in and blow somebody away. I don't always want it, even though Cousins really did show himself late. I don't want to see a team that has nobody to go to at the bottom there, in the bottom of their bullpen. And that always seems to be, that's always been a Yankee strength. It has been for a lot of years. The team is very, very deep in that regard. This group, very happy with it. I don't think they could get much better than they are right now. I think they really made a great move.
This is where I agree with Mr. Q Kramer, is my biggest issue is starting pitchers in 2025 don't pitch a lot of innings, right? Guys who throw 150, 160 innings in a season and give you 25 to 30 starts are averaging five innings a start. They're not averaging more than 5 or 6 innings a start. The rarity is if Cole is back to Cole, he'll average 7 innings a start and he'll throw 210, 220 innings. But Rodon's not going to throw that many innings. Schmidt's not going to throw that many innings. Heel's not going to throw that innings. And Fried will probably throw close to 200 if he's there. But if you go by that theory, you figure that there's going to be 20 games the Yanks get their asses kicked, and it doesn't matter who pitches. They could throw Kramer. It doesn't matter. And you got to figure there's going to be 20 games that the Yankees are going to beat the crap out of somebody, and it doesn't matter who pitches. So that leaves you with 120 games where you're going to have to fill anywhere from 2 to 4 innings in those games because they're going to be close games, meaning within 2 runs going into the 6th inning. So if you have 120 games where you're going to have to get 3 innings out of your bullpen, that's 360 innings out of your bullpen. To get 300 innings out of your bullpen, you need, 25 high leverage innings a week. And I do agree the Yankees manage their bullpen well. It's one of the things they do very well. This don't pitch 3 days in a row unless it's the playoffs works. But if Weaver throws 2 innings and Williams throws 1, Weaver's not coming back the next day. So you need I think they need another high leverage relief pitcher. I don't care if he's righty or lefty. Kramer will tell me he has to be a lefty. I don't care. I mean, if the guy's a high K rate guy, it doesn't matter if it's a righty or lefty. So Cruz could be that guy, but I don't want to go into the season saying, okay, the Yanks are going to fix Cruz. I mean, the guy walks a boatload of players. And I don't really want to go into the season with that. And I had him on my fantasy team, and because of the way our fantasy league works, he was fantastic. But I think they need another high leverage reliever, and that's the thing I think that they can do right now with their team, the way it's currently constructed. It still stay below Hal's $301 million number. even with signing Hill for anywhere from $3 to $5 million. That gives them about $6 or $7 million that they could play with, and there are still some relievers that are out there. The other place that I think they do need somebody, and I don't know what it's going to be, it might be backup catcher, but it's a backup catcher. If all goes according to plan, Wells should play 110, 120 games. If the guy can catch and play defense, even if it's the guy they got in the most recent trade, from Cincinnati, who can't hit, my weight, he's a good defender.
It doesn't matter. They've got their starter. The idea that it was questionable last year was troubling because that wasn't helping them. I don't think that Trevino was a starting. I don't think he's a major league catcher anymore because he can't throw anymore.
He's a very good backup catcher.
That's great. He's a good backup catcher, but I don't want him on our team because I don't like the lack of swing. I don't like his throwing arm. I think his throwing arm metrics are terrible, and it's getting worse and worse. Great framer.
His offense doesn't make up for it.
So I think the Yankees have enough catching depth. This is a team that had catching depth. They felt they had enough in order to trade him relatively easily, where we didn't expect it. It's a great move. Pickup is amazing, right. And I couldn't be happier about it.
Upside.
Very happy to see it. And then they always have Rice. I'd like to see Rice as a two-way there, play a little first base and catch when they need it.
I think that Rice needs to start the season in AAA as a catcher. I send him down and say, catch.
I don't see it. I disagree.
They need to listen, DJ's going to be on the team. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. DJ's on the team, right? Peraza has to be on the team. He has no more options left. Yeah. So Rice, and if you want Rice to catch, he hasn't caught in a year for the most part. Send him down, let him catch. And then if he comes back up, now you've got first base infield depth and catching depth of a player who can hit a little bit. Plus, he'll probably hit a little bit better and get his swing back down in the minor leagues. I would send Rice down to start the season and let him catch down at AAA. Yeah. Although they have Escalera and a couple other guys that are down there that they like, fine. But let Rice go down there and catch and play first base and play every day down at AAA and see what happens. That's
all right. Here's what I think is going to happen. I think that the Yankees they think one of the derivative benefits of having what's his name, Goldschmidt, is that he's gonna show him a thing or two. They had that a little bit with Rizzo, but Rizzo was probably gone half the time because he was recovering from the 9 injuries he has or whatever problem he's got at that time. So I don't think the Yankees got that much out of Rizzo last year in the education. And I think that they're going to see this is an opportunity to teach them how to be a first baseman for real.
There's no room at the end. There's no room at the end.
I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised. And this is another thing. If the Yankees cut DJ right in the middle of spring training,
they won't eat it. They won't eat the money.
I don't know. Listen, if he can't show he's got anything, if he gets hurt again, if he gets hurt during spring training.
Listen, the significant thing for the Yankees would be that he would go on IL. And then take up a 40-man spot and not a 26-man spot. But if you keep 12 pitchers, which the Yankees are going to do, that means you have 14 position players. 9 start every game because of the DH, which means you have 5 bench players. So the bench players have to be Peraza, have to be the backup catcher if it's not Rice, which I don't think it should be, have to be DJ, and it's going to be Grisham, and that's it.
What a waste of
Grisham does have 2 options, which I think is very funny.
I would do it for. I can't believe they wasted five million bones on that guy. The fact that they like him so much defensively, they couldn't find somebody else. They don't have. I guess they don't have that much confidence in Pereira.
Pereira's arm was hurt, so maybe they don't think he's going to be ready to start the season. But I would think the Yankees would, if Pereira's ready, they would just as soon cut Grisham and eat the $5 million because it's only for this year, whereas DJ's money is for this year and next year.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not there, but I will not at all be surprised if he gets hurt in spring training. The Yankees may just say, "Listen, we got to say goodbye," or turn him into a coach, or go to fantasy camp and work down at fantasy.
Yeah, that's
work off his salary at camp.
so. Could the Yankees use another infielder to play their second base or third base where Jazz doesn't go? Absolutely. No,
I am still a big believer that the Yankees may jump in on Kim.
Well, Kim would be ideal but he's not going to be ready till May. But Kim would be ideal because he could also bat leadoff when he comes back. But right now, he's not ready to play. And they're talking about Kim getting a $7 million contract, which is about how much money the Yankees have. But I believe that the bullpen leverage guy is more important right now, because I think when everything shakes out come June or July, somebody who is going to be a rental will shake out that they can have. There's a couple of guys that are currently free agents that are buy low guys. And there's one that's not a very good defensive player, but he's a very good offensive player. And they could probably get him on a minor league tryout deal.
Okay.
You want to know who I'm talking about?
Pray tell.
Yan Moncada.
Oh, God.
He can't field a lick, but offensively, the man, even though he's been hurt the last 2 years, so he hasn't done as much as he could do, the man can hit. I mean, ideally, if you told me Stanton was going to be out for the season, I would go out and have him be the guy. How's that? Yan Moncada, he's a switch hitter, which helps Kramer's life. And even his lifetime OPS plus is 106, but even last year when he only played a little bit, when he came back, he was at 117. His full seasons that he played, he was at 160.
45 at bats last year.
I know, but
you can't count on that.
I know, but you can't count on him. You can't. But he's he's also a strikeout. He's also a strikeout a game guy, which I know you hate and I hate. But
he has 357 at bats. 433 at bats in 22. This guy cannot stay on the field. He's a disaster waiting to happen. His best, he had 260 in 23, at 212 in 22.
Which is
I don't see why this is that. Where's this guy helping?
Which is why I'm saying on a minor league tryout, that's a guy you put him.
I'm okay with anything on a minor league contract. I mean, right. I don't care if they go back and bring I don't care. Give anybody a shot.
And then there's another guy that's a buy low guy that I think they can get. It's a relief pitcher, not a lefty, is Paul Sewald. Yeah. I mean, his strikeout rate dropped a little last year from 30% to 25%, which is still a high strikeout rate. And his velocity dropped by 1 mile per hour. But Sewald's got significant experience. He pitched well in New York for the Mets. And last year was his worst year that he's had in a while. And he's likely to only get $7 million, according to Sport Track and a couple of other sources that I read on MLB.com. They're talking about Sewald getting only $7 million as a relief pitcher for this season, which is fine. That's another high leverage arm and gives you some depth. The other guy that I know Kramer and I would both like the Yankees to try and make a run at, but I don't think they can afford him, is A.J. Minter.
Yeah.
And the problem with A.J. Minter is he's got a career habit of pitching very well every other year. So he was good in 20, 22, and 24, and bad in 19, 21, 23. So 25 is the off year for him. But if they sign him on a 1-year deal, guess what? Perhaps he'll be okay. He's another guy, averages 10 strikeouts per 9, and he has a good strikeout to walk ratio. He made $6.2 million last year. He's going to want more money than that. He's not a bad guy to get either. Carlos Estevez is out there. He made 6.75 last year. He got out of Colorado and he was good in 22, 23, and 24. His K rate dropped a little and his walk rate went up a little in 24. That's another bullpen piece that's out there. But he was a high leverage piece for the Phillies. So he pitches in a tough market and for a team that was playing important baseball late in the season. So I think there's bullpen pieces that are out there, and the bullpen market is basically dead right now. There's nothing going on. There's still a bunch of guys that are out there, but nobody that's really jumps off. I mean, you don't want Kenley Jansen. You don't want Chris Martin. I'd love Robertson, but I think he's going to be too expensive. I think Hoffman's going to be too expensive. I think Turnbull, who would be a good guy to have, would be too expensive. But the biggest problem you have is Jordan Romano signed a 1-year, $7.5 million deal with Philadelphia, and he didn't really pitch last year, and when he did, he sucked. So, when the bullpen market gets hot, who knows what's going to happen? I don't really want to see Canley come back unless he can come back very cheap. But there's not, the bullpen market. Hill is the guy that they do need to bring back because he's proven it. The Yankees fixed him. He got so good with the Yankees compared to what he was. But the third base market, there's nothing out there. Infield market wise, I mean, they don't have anything to trade to get a guy from what's his name from Tampa, Diaz.
Yeah, they're not gonna get
Nothing out there. I don't really want them. If they sign Bregman, they've basically said we're not going after.
They're not bringing Bregman.
We're not going after.
Where are they going to come up with the $20 million? I mean, I just don't see them having the money.
Bregman turned down 6 years and 156 from the Astros. That's 24 million a year, 25 million a year.
It's not even the Yankees aren't in that.
No.
That's rarefied air for them. They're not going to spend any money right now. They need a guy who they need a fixer. They need somebody. They need a second baseman. I don't think they can afford a third baseman. I think they do need a second base. This is why Kim keeps coming up.
Kim keeps coming up. Absolutely.
Let him come in and give the guy a run. Give Peraza second base to start. See what they've gotten him, and then suddenly become. Let's say he has a great month and a half, and then they actually have given this guy some value. He's got no trade value right now, and the Yankees don't have any trade pieces unless they start seeing something out of these young guys.
Well, that's why the trade deadline, Jones has a chance to build up his value.
He's the most important guy.
Will Warren could build back up his value because his value is down. Gomez could build up some value.
Yeah.
They do have some minor league pitching that needs to, very young minor league pitching that could build up some value.
Well, they will. And someone's going to step up and become, but they've had very bad performance. I've said it a couple of weeks in a row here that they've left themselves exposed to other teams who have better higher quality gifts to give away. They really need some good years. They need a good year.
And I also think that the guys that they've traded in the past, specifically to the A's, have not proven themselves to be anything more than J.P. Sears, a number 4 starter.
I also got to wonder how much of it is these guys. The Yankees didn't have a lot of luck trading these guys to the A's. The A's have. How are the A's in developing these guys? Are they any good? I mean, they've got some great players, but they've got that Mason guy. They've developed him, but where
develop him? He just came out of college that way.
That's amazing. That's a great draft. But how are they at doing these things? I mean, we keep talking about this guy the Yankees got.
Well, you got to think Montas was developed by them. Luzardo was developed by them. Sonny Gray was developed by them. I mean, they don't have a bad track record of guys that they brought up through their system. They have a bad track record of trading for guys because the guys they traded for have not been terrifically good. But the Yankees, if you look at it from a perspective of a third team, well, the Yankees have traded guys away to other teams where they would be starters, and the only one that's really worked out really well for the other team is King.
Yeah.
And King worked out really well for the Padres. But the Yankees got Soto and went to the World Series, so I don't care.
Yeah. The thing that I'm really, there's a few things I'm excited about this year. But what I'm really loving, and I got to tell you, you got to really give Cashman credit where it's due. I mean, I've been up there with you screaming and yelling for his untimely death or the removal.
Not his untimely death, just I would like to see it. Yeah.
Removal. And I meant that metaphorically. But I think he's I think the move this winter has been amazing, but the Cruz pickup may very well be the steal of the century for them. This guy has something going here. He's got a split finger. I mean, you were listening to these guys on Fireside. I had no idea. This guy's split finger is epic, and nobody can touch him. Nobody can touch him.
He's not young, but he still has 3 years of control.
They don't need him to be young. The Yankees aren't looking for him for 5 years.
3 years of control they've got for this guy.
I love it, and it's great. There's just enough time to get the most out of him. This is your elite arm. That could be if he can develop his four seamers,
his control.
Crap. But if he can develop his control and then maybe work, the Yankees love sinkers. So he's never used his sinker. So watch the Yankees focus on his sinker and his slider this year. I think he's going to be the
100
pickup of
miles
the
an
year.
hour. He's going to be. I mean, the Yankees are hoping they could do to him what they did for Holmes, except
Yeah.
he's got more talent than Holmes does because he's not a. Holmes was a 4-pitch pitcher when he came over, but he's a 2-pitch pitcher. Fastball splitty. Um,
Yeah.
so we'll see what happens. I mean, the upside for the Cruz is good, but that's not what you want to be counting on going into the season.
No, you don't. But you've got to
Like,
you count on talent. You count on guys who have shown some skills, and you count on the fact that you've got the savants in the bullpen that seem to have the magic touch with most of the guys who come. They
yep.
fail with some, but they seem to have something that they're able to turn on with these guys. And I think it's about their grip. It's about something that they do.
Well, the bullpen
Um,
bullpen pieces are fungible, as I've been saying forever. They're
yeah,
fungible. They come and go. They're good for 2 or 3 years, and then they're gone. The Yankees, it would have been really nice. The Yankees got something. They've gotten a lot out of Hamilton that nobody else has gotten out of him. Hopefully
correct.
this year they get something more out of Cousins than anybody's gotten out of him. They clearly got more out of Weaver than anybody's ever gotten out of him before. If you have Cruz and you get out of Cruz, you now have, come trade deadline, you have some depth pieces in your bullpen that
Yeah.
would be your third or fourth leverage guy or your fourth and fifth leverage guy that can go to a contending team in the National League and be their second or third guy in their bullpen, which then means the Yankees could pick up a rental by throwing a Hamilton and a decent prospect and go pick up a rental from a team, let's say Arizona. I don't even know. We'll just make up Arizona and say Ketel Marte is a rental, or a player like that. They could pick up a rental by giving a bullpen piece, a good bullpen piece, and a rental piece to another team.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the Yankees right now, the way they're structured, they're not structured right now to make the big, I need to get a $7 million, $10 million third baseman. I think they're structured to get a Hill and a $4 to $7 million reliever and be done, and
Mm-hmm.
then see what happens and be very, very, very active at the trade deadline in the rental market, because they can do that, which they don't generally go into the rental market with regard to players that are going to play every day for them. They go into the rental market now for 1 year of a player, which is how they got Soto, how they got Verdugo, right? Originally, how they got DJ. Well, DJ they signed, but originally how they got some of these guys, how they got Rizzo, right? He was a rental. Didn't they trade for Rizzo? Chapman was a rental when they got
They
him.
traded for Rizzo at the deadline in 21.
Right. And Aroldis Chapman was a rental.
Mm-hmm.
So, they did a whole bunch of things that they traded away Chapman as a rental. They do things with players that they pick them up before the season starts.
Yeah.
Like they picked up Chapman and they traded him. They picked up Rizzo and then they ended up signing him. So they do well at the trade deadline, and I think they're going to be able to do that again this year. And quite
They
frankly,
do.
the ultimate question is this, and I know what my answer is. Do you think they are the best team in the AL East right now, as
Yes.
constructed? If they do nothing else for the rest of the offseason, which I don't think they're going to do nothing, but if they do nothing else, are they the best team in the AL
They
East?
are the best, but Baltimore isn't far behind because of just pure talent. But Baltimore, if they don't re-sign,
Burns.
Burns, I don't see where they're going with their pitching. They can't compete with their pitching staff. They've got a great young talent, but that's it. Red Sox are doing what they always do. They're banking on a big arm who's going to come in, who's going to blow it out, and he's going to end up getting hurt. I don't.
The Red Sox have a good farm system. They do have good players in their system.
Yeah, I mean,
And
I just don't
Barnes,
think
sure.
they do, and they can get pieces with that farm system. But listen, the Red Sox probably, if Baltimore doesn't get it together, it's Yanks, Sox, Orioles, and then you've got Jays are going nowhere. I don't know what Jays are doing, and then the Rays. I just don't know if they can compete anymore. They just can't see that and they always find a way to be good, but it's
Last year they
it's
did. Last year they
what
did. They didn't
yeah,
find well.
it's still a good division all around. Everybody, I think they're better. I think they're the best team. I think the best team in Major League, in the American League. Yeah, I don't question that.
I think Houston, because they're so much better at first base,
Mm.
and yes, they're a drop off at third base without Bregman, but Bregman was only good for half a season last year. And Tucker is gone, but they got Paredes.
Does Bregman sign back on a short term?
He's not going to
Because
go back to. There's no place for him on Houston.
yeah,
They have Paredes and they have
that's
Walker.
right. They moved
There's no
Paredes, so
place
they
for him
can't. So
anymore.
he's gonna sign. I'm telling you, he's gonna sign one of these contracts. I think the Red Sox are gonna go, but the Red Sox are waiting it out and watch him sign him for like 1 or 2 years, low money or high money. But I'm telling you, this is the curse of Boris, and I just have a feeling we're seeing it again. Maybe it's a little bit early to say.
Bregman's not a Boris guy, I don't think.
He is.
He is? Okay.
Bregman's a Boris guy.
And Alonso's definitely
Burns and Alonso, all those three boys, those guys do
No,
not have a market.
Burns is Casey Close, I thought.
Nope. Burns is these are all those three are his studs, and they're not doing so well. So we'll see. But it's getting kind of late to the dance, you know. We'll see. What else do I want to talk about? Let's play. I got a text from our friend of the show, Steve Carroll.
Okay.
He is enjoying a little sunshine in Mexico. He's got a 4-point plan. Sign Tim Hill, trade for Donovan, let him lead off, play second base or third, trade Stroman if possible. If not, use as spot starter or long relief, keep innings down, and trade if injury or by deadline to somebody that has a use. 4, save some cash for a trade deadline move. That's interesting.
Yeah, but with the things he wants to do, they're not going to be able to do that because Donovan's going to cost them money because he's going to make more than anything they give up for him.
Yeah.
Hill's going to cost them money. And, I agree with him. Stroman, see, if I'm the Yankees, listen, there was an article the other day that said, what's his name? Paddock, the pitcher from the Twins. He was terrible. But they're talking about him being able to get $7.5 million on a 1-year deal from somebody to be a back end of the rotation guy. I'm sorry, but Stroman for the last 3 years has been better than he has. Now, yes, Stroman makes 16. If I'm the Yankees, any team that's interested in Braddock, I would say, listen, we will give you $8 million if you take Stroman and give us back a used bag of baseballs.
Yeah.
Let's the Yankees dump $10 million. Or if they have to dump $10 million, say, we'll give you $10 million and you give us a used bag of baseballs. That means the Yankees save $8 million. However, we will only give you 8. If he does vest, we will give you $6 million for the 26th season, but we will give you nothing if he's traded by you, so that the Yankees, somebody can't just go flip him off and do something. So the Yankees can make a deal for nothing, basically a salary dump, sort of like what the Cubs did with Bellinger, a total salary dump. But the Yankees are going to eat a lot of money because it's $16 million. If the Yankees eat 10 this year, they save 8. That gives them flexibility to do things. And if they have to give up money for 26, only give it up to the team that they trade him to, not if that team trades him. So if they trade him to, let's say they trade him to the Mets for some argument's sake, tell the Mets, okay, as long as you guys keep him, if he vests, we'll give you 6 for next year. Because if he vests, he means he's throwing 144 innings, which means he had a decent year. So now he's worth the $10 million. So you give him $6 million for the 26th season. I don't understand how a guy like Paddock can get traded for anything, and somebody's willing to pay him $7.5 million and not think that they would pay $8 or $9 million for a Stroman. And Yankees eat money, and that's where you eat money. And just to give yourself $8, $9, $10 million of flexibility, I just think that that's out there at $8, $9, or $10 million. He is a number 5 starter. That's what they make on teams that are good and don't have zero payroll. That's what happens. Going back to Bregman and Alonso and those guys, I think either Bregman or Alonso will end up with the Mets. And if the Mets sign Bregman, then Vientos moves to first base. If the Mets sign Alonso, Vientos stays back at third base. The problem with Alonso going back to the Mets is the DH spot. You can't give Alonso more than 5 years, 6 years at most, because you know Soto in 6 years is a DH, and you got him for 15, right? So you can't. That's the problem with Alonso going back to the Mets. Whereas Bregman is a good enough athlete; he'll be able to play defense forever. But I think Bregman, from his perspective, as well as Alonso, the places that those guys, Bregman and Arenado, really, they're dead pull down. They're dead pull left field, straightaway left field home run hitters. Boston is a place for them. Cincinnati is a place for them. That's where they need to. Houston is a place for them, quite honestly, and Houston's not no use for either of them. But those are the guys that they need to be going to. There's a wild card out there. There's 2 teams that have to spend some money. Actually, there's 3 teams that need to spend some money right now. The Rays and the Marlins and the A's all have to get to 105 million. The Marlins and the A's especially have to get to 105 million, because the Marlins have been below that for a couple of years in a row.
Yeah, and they're about to get into a lot of doo-doo with
and
the
A's have to get to it. The A's have to get to it because the A's, this is the first time that the A's have to get to the 105, and the A's are smart. They would give everybody their soft landing, because the A's don't have a bad team. They don't. They have young players that are on the come. Some will make it, some won't. But they have a lot of good players. And quite frankly, they have a need at third, even though they signed Gio Urshela, they have a need at third base, and they have a need at first base.
Mm-hmm.
And either Alonso or Bregman could end up there on a soft landing the A's will overpay. So the A's pay $30 million. They got to get to 105, and they're at like 59. So they got to do something. And the Marlins, I think, are in the 60s or 70s and have to get to 105, but they're not going to do it. Marlins, I think, are willing to do it, to say bye-bye.
All right, Michael.
Soft landings.
All right, Michael. It's 8:01. It's time for us to move on.
We have one message. We got to play it.
Yes.
Hey guys, happy 105th anniversary of the Curse of the Bambino. Enjoy the day.
Today is the day. The Yankees bought Babe Ruth.
He was a fat ass. Come on. What an overrated player. Come on, Babe. My favorite of all is watching the Pride of the Yankees the other night, and Babe Ruth comes stomping in with a hot dog in his mouth. It's so classic, so emblematic of what a disaster he was as a player.
You're just jealous because that's how we come to every game. Eating hot dogs and pizza.
Hot dogs and a beer, baby. That's the name of the game. Anyway, my friend, it's been a pleasure. This is our last show of the 2024 season.
Look for our shows on YouTube. Our YouTube channel's getting lots of hits.
In 25, baby, with this scintillating conversation, and hopefully many, many more great guests. And we're looking forward to working with all of you. And we thank you for being a friend of the show. Have a nice day, Michael. Be well.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.